Well, I've been continuing my little program of doing the homework that I should have done in high school but didn't for whatever reason. And this week, the way I did that was by reading a book, Silas Marner, which I think was assigned in my sophomore year. And I know I didn't read it. I'm not sure I even read the Cliff's Notes version of it. But I read it this time, and I can now understand why I wouldn't have done this thing. Let me tell you the story. Silas Marner is this guy who lives in a little town called called Lantern Yard. He gets framed for a robbery that he didn't commit, and he takes off and he goes to this place called Ravello, something like that. And he's a weaver by trade, and what he does is he kind of isolates himself from the town. The town regards him quite rightly as a total weirdo. And what he does is he weaves all day, all night. He goes for 15 years and he accumulates all this gold coins mostly. And one night his coins are stolen. They're just taken away, and he had been really sort of worshiping these gold coins, and his life all of a sudden had no meaning. Now, also in this town, there's a rich guy. His name is Squire Cass. He's got several sons, and the two oldest ones are two fun guys, Godfrey and Dunstan. They like drinking, partying, gambling. And as it turns out, this one guy, Godfrey, the older of the two brothers, he secretly got married. And, he married a drug addict, and it was just awful. But he's keeping it a secret, and so far, pretty successfully. Anyway, it turns out they owe their father money, and one night, Dunstan, the real party goer, robs Silas Marner's money, disappears. Well, Silas, he's more than a little upset by this, and his life has no meaning. Then and Dunstan disappears. Godfrey is stuck. He's worried about where all this is going to go. And what happens is one night, his secret bride dies at Silas Marner's doorstep. Her and Godfrey's little girl show up in Silas Marner's house, and he falls in love with this little girl and proceeds to raise her for, 16 years, something like that. And all of a sudden what happens is that this Godfrey has taken over Dad's farm, draining some, swamps or whatever it is, and all of a sudden Dunstan reappears. He actually drowned in one of these pits. Silas Marner finds his money again, but he's managed to not be so in love with money anymore. And then that triggers Godfrey to make a confession and say that this little girl, her name is Eppie, by the way, that she's actually his, and the little girl stays with Silas Marner, and they all live happily. Even Godfrey's sort of a little bit happy. Anyway, reading this book, the first part of it was all right, but then you get into these scenes in the local saloon, a place called the Rainbow, and you got all these guys talking about local nonsense and in a local dialect. And honest to God, I really wanted to gouge my eyeballs out with a rusty spoon reading this. But I stayed with it. And I guess I'm glad I did. I finished that homework. I should have done it years ago. Didn't do it. People compare, you'd be tempted, because everybody knows George Eliot was actually female. And you'd be tempted to compare her with Jane Austen. which would be a big mistake. Jane Austen wrote almost half a century before George Eliot did. The real comparison would be with Charles Dickens. The only thing is, Charles Dickens' books, that they share the same view on how miserable life can be. They call that realism. The only thing is, Charles Dickens' books are a whole lot more readable than this Silas Marner. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to pick up another one that I think I got assigned called Middlemarch. I don't know if that's not her most famous book, but if you're interested in things like All That Glitters Is Not Gold, redemption, so on, you probably want to read Silas Marner. On the other hand, if you're looking for real action, this is not the book for you. Certainly not the book for me. That's this week's review, so to speak, and I'll see you next week. Take care.